Hello, my Astro family. This is Lada from astrolada.com here with your weekly horoscope, and I'm back making weeklies and monthlies. Thank you for waiting for me for the 2-3 months that I took a break to rejuvenate a bit. Maybe I need a break from the break too. It's been amazing. I've gotten a lot of new ideas that I'll be sharing with you in the coming months. We're even starting a apprenticeship school with Victor, one of the best predictive astrologers that I know. We're going to teach you one-on-one. He's going to teach you, and one of you can even, or a few of you, if whoever graduates, can become a member of the Astrolada family and work with us and become a well-paid astrologer. So check out, if you want to be an apprentice, learn with the teacher one-on-one. Victor is offering that for a few months, and he'll teach you traditional methods of predicting, and you start from the bottom, learning signs. There's also intermediate level, and he works only with your horoscope and the horoscopes of your loved ones, so they're familiar to you. So you learn through the people that surround you in your own life, in your own chart. So let's see who will be able to become an astrologer together with astrolada.com and work together with me and the other amazing astrologers we have. But now let's focus on the lunar eclipse. This is the big event on the 16th of July that basically the whole of July is under the influence of the two eclipses, the solar eclipse that happened on the 2nd of July and the lunar eclipse in Capricorn that's happening on the 16th. We're going to tie both in together, and for each sign, we're going to make a prediction. But before that, I'm going to speak a little bit about the current astrological weather and describe what this lunar eclipse is all about. It's a very karmic lunar eclipse. It's an eclipse that is going to trigger a lot of fears in us. Actually, I've noticed, even in my own life, that a lot of paranoias, fears are starting to come to the surface. A lot of buried complexes and issues of that are really very much connected with the reptilian mind. The reptilian mind is when fear grabs you for no reason, when it takes over control of your body. So those fears from the past, symbolized by Pluto, are coming to the surface because this lunar eclipse is, if you can see here, this lunar eclipse, this is where the moon is, this is the lunar eclipse, is exactly conjunct Pluto and Saturn. And the South Node, they are all very karmic planets. And of course, the moon symbolizes our fears. The moon symbolizes our feelings as well. But Pluto symbolizes deeply buried complexes, deeply buried traumas from past lifetimes or current lifetimes, that almost like for me, Pluto is like being in a swamp. And at the bottom of the swamp, there is like a lot of dross, a lot of muddy, and muddy material. And now this lunar eclipse is stirring it. So it starts feeling like you are swimming in very muddy and clear waters. And those fears, you might start feeling like there are monsters coming from underneath. And those subconscious, I've noticed people that have naturally fears, paranoias, and they've been asleep for years, they're starting to wake up now. And this is because of the Pluto, Saturn, and South Node conjunction that's around us almost the whole year, but especially potent this July and part of August while the eclipses are still there. And even myself, I used to have claustrophobia when I was younger, and it appeared like crazy since Pluto and the South Node and Saturn are together, because all of those are past karmas and fears. Pluto is fears and Saturn is fears that are buried. The South Node is something that's buried, that it's coming to the surface now to be reworked and released. That's the good thing. But you might realize, you might start thinking that you're going crazy, that fears that you haven't had for many years since childhood, or irrational fears of many sorts, are coming to the surface, and you can't understand why. Even I almost stopped the plane because I got claustrophobia there. For the last few months, I can't travel in planes. It's ridiculous. It's a constant fear and grip. I sleep on open doors. I can't go into the toilet. It's very debilitating, to be honest. I can't even drive in cars unless the windows are open. And it's just for me, but I've noticed it for many other people that have some kind of buried feelings, emotions. Everyone has those, but especially phobias that are escalating very powerfully currently. But why is that? they're escalating, so we can confront them and you can release those fears. So it's like a healing crisis. Pluto is the planet of trauma and phobias, but at the same time, Pluto is the planet of healing. So it's like the the remedies in the poison. So you can feel this, like you're feeling poisoned almost to some extent, whether it's feelings, whether it's experiences from the past that are rising, but they're coming. So like a wound, they can be released. And of course, it's the healing crisis. It always hurts. It feels like you're getting worse. Wow, actually, this is your healing period. So I'm giving you the heads up that it might be painful, emotionally intense, but the ultimate goal is such a powerful karmic release. All the most karmic planets, like I said, Saturn, which is past wrong things that we feel guilty about, things that we are afraid of, things that we feel inadequate about, things that we feel we're not enough about, things that we beat ourselves about or that others beat us about, feel things that are locked in, inside. And Pluto, of course, is traumas, is someone having taken our power. It might be a situation, it might be a fear or phobia, it might be another person, someone that abused their power over us. Or if we did that and we abused our power with someone, all those memories, all those feelings are starting to come to the surface so they can be released. Why released? Because this lunar eclipse is with the south node. This little thing, black thing here, is the south node. The south node in astrology is described, and in ancient texts, as the tail of the dragon. The tail of and the head is the north node. And the tail is what is it? It's where we excrete things. It's the colon. And by the way, Pluto, that this lunar eclipse is happening with, the planet in brown here, is also a planet that rules the colon. Actually, in Vedic astrology, they say that the south node is exalted in Scorpio, the sign of Pluto. So it does its best job in Scorpio, but currently the ruler of Pluto is with the south node. So we have like a very Plutonic energy towards it, very Scorpionic energy towards this lunar eclipse, even though it's in Capricorn. But because it's with Pluto, with the south node, which they have both very similar natures to excrete, to release the toxic. What do we release from the colon? The waste that is no longer necessary. If we don't do, what happens? We get poisoned. If you're constipated for some time, you can poison your whole body. A shutdown of the whole system can happen. And currently, those two powerful planets, or cosmic objects, are combining together to release a lot of those fears, a lot of those toxic feelings. It's connected to feelings because the moon is there. And because it's in the sign of Capricorn, there'll be a release about structures. Capricorn is something that we've built like a wall around us and we feel safe there, but actually it's our prison. And we think like, oh, I'm so safe in my tower here, but it's what is limiting you to see the whole world, what is limiting you to become limitless or to expand and to grow. We all have certain structures, whether mental, whether emotional or material, physical, career structures, whatever, that we're holding on, that at some point are very useful for us. We build those structures because they protected us in some way, because they put order in our life. This is Saturn. It's also with the lunar eclipse. But currently, the planets are showing us that in certain areas of your life, and we're going to speak about each sign separately, those structures are outdated. Those structures are full of mold. Those structures are full of poisons in the walls. Those structures are limiting you. Those structures are creating actually fears and phobias in you. And Pluto comes to break them down. And this lunar eclipse, so the whole month, this whole summer, I would say, it's a summer of breaking down of the old ego. And actually, Pluto is a planet that you can feel like something is dying. A lot of people have been telling me recently, especially people that have planets in Capricorn or Cancer or Ascendant or Midheaven, or some important angle in those two signs. They've been, or planets, any planets in Capricorn, Cancer, have been coming to me and saying, it feels like something is dying. It's like a sense of like something, some big crisis is going to happen, or something, a part of me is dying, and I think about death a lot. And actually, again, it's a healing process, because Pluto is killing a part of your old ego that you're holding on to, that you think it's something that gives you security. Pluto is destroying the Saturn. Ketu is releasing those old structures, but it might feel like you're dying or like someone is about to die or something, but it's a part of you. It's like Pluto in this eclipse is peeling layers. You imagine you're like an onion and you're peeling certain, layers, and there is like a diamond in the middle, that is your true self, but you're covered with so many layers on top. So this feeling, you might think it's like you're dying, but you're not. So I want to explain to you why you might have certain premonitions or dark feelings, or feelings of doom and gloom that people experience, that have been experiencing, especially because Pluto is so strongly involved. The feelings, because it's a lunar eclipse, can become irrational, intense, sometimes paranoid. Some jealousies might appear, irrational jealousies, irrational fear again. Those very intense and deep feelings that are like our shadow side, like a monster lurking underneath. Feelings and emotional reactions that we thought we're not capable of, that we thought they're reserved for evil people, or that we thought they're reserved for psychotic people. They might start bubbling. I don't want to scare you. It might, for some of you, might be very subtle process. For some of you, might be very internal. For others, for whom the karma is ripe to be released, will feel it much more intensely. But let's tie it in together with the solar eclipse that happened before that. It was a Rahu new moon eclipse. Solar eclipse is a new moon. So something new, some new ideas are starting to be born. Some new ideas are starting to appear. You want to give birth to something very new in your life, because Rahu brings something very new, so do new moons. And you want to recreate your image or part of your life in a very different way, and you feel it. But before you can really begin those things that the solar eclipse kicked off as ideas in you, you have to release something. And that's why this lunar eclipse is coming for the release with the most karmic and painful planets, Pluto and Saturn. Whether it's resentments we're keeping, whether it's fears, whether it's, so there is the need for a lot of forgiveness that you have to do. And actually, I started doing one technique, and I'll share with you, because it's the conjunction of Saturn in the South Node in the past 1 month brought to me, and the eclipse is coming, this technique, which has been life-changing. And I know this is an astrology channel, but we want to give you tools as well. It's not only astrology, self-growth channel, to give you tools to overcome moments like that. And because now the energetic climate is quite intense, emotions are all up in the air, fears, phobias, resentments, anger is bubbling up very strongly to be released. I want to give you a powerful tool that helped me, because I had quite a few crises around the eclipses, the solar eclipse as well. It happened on my husband's sun sign and in my 6th house of health. So crises like that happen. You know what it is and that you have to do when you're feeling like that? Instead of saying, please, God, save me, you start asking for forgiveness to whoever has wronged you, to whoever you feel angry about, to whoever you think that you're the right person, or a situation. You start saying, sorry, it's my fault. Don't say it in their face. Repeat it in your head as many times as you want, whenever you want. It's a Hawaiian method, Hono something. I forgot what the full name is. I've never seen a method works within minutes. Within minutes, it's transformational. And you start saying sorry to the person that upset you. They might be in the wrong. They might be the one that is their fault. Instead of that, you take fully the fault and blame in yourself. You don't have to say it to them, and start repeating, I'm so sorry for my wrong thoughts that have hurt you and have hurt me. So you apologize to them and to yourself as well. To a situation that hurt you. It might be a substance that's hurting you, a situation or a person, an abuser, someone like plutonic predatory that's taking your power. Instead of blaming them, you start saying, I'm sorry for the wrong thoughts, because it's always our thoughts that cause it, that I have, that are hurting me and hurting you. And then you apologize to yourself and to this person, basically. And then you say, thank you very much. I love you. Repeat it 100 times. So every time you start feeling like I'm in the right, I'm going to show them, I'm going to fight with them, or you feel overwhelmed about some situation, and you apologizing to love as well. You're saying, because there is something that is out of balance with love. So you say, you can apologize to love or to God if you can't bring it in your heart to apologize to the person that has wronged you. And believe me, something happens within minutes of repeating that in your head, or maybe on the next day. Your resentment and your pain dissipates, and so does the negative feelings of the other person. And you see tremendous results. So it's funny, but instead of cursing the devil or whatever is, affecting us, or maybe you are smoking and you want to stop smoking, or you're drinking, you start every time you smoke a cigarette saying thank you for the opportunity that you're giving me to take a break, or thank you for releasing my fears, and I thank you for everything that you've done for me, and I release you now. So instead of getting angry about it, you thank. Anyway, going back to the astrology of it, so powerful karmic release. Some people might be leaving your life, some old structures falling apart, but it's because it wants to liberate you, and it wants to make you a more happy person eventually, because the new moon solar eclipse was the previous week in Cancer, where the north node is where the direction we have to go to. It's in Cancer, and Cancer is about starting to do something new that's more aligned to your emotional needs, what you need, rather than you have to release things that you're doing out of habit, Capricorn, out of security, out of fears, out of material considerations. So maybe it's, for some of you, might be some job that you're sticking to, but that's making you sick, that you've outgrown it, but you're like, oh, it's material, it's my status, material, security, Capricorn. You might have to release it. And instead you have to go in the direction of Cancer. For all of you in Cancer is, what do I need? What do I actually want? What gives happiness to my soul and my heart? This is Cancer. What are my needs for once, rather than what is it that's expected of me? Capricorn. Capricorn is what you should do. What are the expectations from the world from you? What is your obligations? This time you have to leave some responsibilities and duties and obligations and go towards what your heart wants, Cancer. Cancer rules the stomach, and they say the heart of the soul is here in that area. And in this month, you'll be feeling, you have those fears that are considered to Capricorn, that are more material consideration as well, but you have to leave them and go, and instead of focus on what is the practical solution, to focus on, what do I want, Cancer? What do I need? What feels right for me? Because you're giving birth to something new there. What feels aligned with my needs? So let's look now. And of course, there is a good aspect from Neptune to this whole lunar eclipse. It's kind of white, but Neptune is the solution, because look, the red lines are between, there's like a push and pull seesaw between the new needs that you have to develop, something new in your life, which is in Cancer, and what you have to release, the old structures in Capricorn through the lunar eclipse. And what is a lunar eclipse? It's when the moon is full, something has come to its fullest fruition. So something can no longer grow, something can no longer, full moons, after that you start releasing things after a full moon. So again, the same influence. Ketu is releasing, Pluto is, the colon releasing, the full moon is releasing, starting, something has grown enough and no longer can, it starts growing small after that. So it is one of the best full moons for quitting bad habits. Because what is bad habit? These are crutches that we think they make us secure and give us, some kind of sense of safety and security, which is Capricorn, some old structures. But so if you want to stop any bad habits, do it the moment the full moon eclipse happens. After that, after the moment, so the day after or the day of the full moon eclipse, when the moon starts growing smaller after that. Also, though, on a positive level, there might be some completions and endings which release you from certain responsibilities. So Capricorn is the sign of responsibility and worldly action. So maybe you're completing some business project or some career or something that it's, you're putting the final touches to, and now you see the results of it. Full moon is to see the results of something, and you can let go of those responsibilities and duties now, and you can move forwards in a different direction. And of course, Neptune is the saving grace. Neptune is the only planet doing the blue aspects, which are the easing aspects towards this concoction of planets in both signs, opposite each other, the seesaw, push and pull. So this inner conflict that we have within us is going to be resolved through Neptune. And what is Neptune? It's exactly the technique that I gave you. Forgiveness. Ask for Neptune is to forgive, to take the blame, but don't say you forgive yourself as well. You say, forgive me for my wrong thoughts that hurt me and hurt you. So you're taking first the full blame, but then you're forgiving yourself for the wrong thoughts that cause it. Even if the other person wronged you. So Neptune is forgiveness, is compassion. Neptune is turn the other cheek. I mean, don't be stupid, but turn the other cheek is like, you don't go to the person and say, here is, you took money from me, here is your more money. No, you do it within in the sacred sanctum, in your private space, in your head, while you're in the toilet seat, whatever. Do it everywhere you want, but you take the stance of Neptune to help with the energies of this lunar eclipse and this big transformation, karmic release that is happening. You take the blame, but you forgive yourself, you forgive the other person, and you end up with, thank you so much, I love you. And you're saying I love you to yourself and to the other person. So that's the exit out of it, this Pisces Neptune, of forgiveness and, Christ. Neptune is the energy of Christ-like qualities, almost like you think, ooh, I'm such a good person for doing that. I'm the bigger person, All right, so, and one last thing, the sun, which is opposite the lunar eclipse, of course, it causes the lunar eclipse. It's on the one fixed star called Pollux. Pollux is one of the twins in the constellation of Gemini, and Pollux is known as the aggressive or very rash brother. So what you're going to feel is like anger. Every person that I know who have Pollux on the ascendant, so something around the 24th, 25th degree in Cancer can have, especially the ascendant of Mars or the sun, they can be rash, strong people, but at the same time angry. So expect around the eclipse that there will be anger that builds up, and that there will be escalations, maybe fights that can happen, and feistiness and reactiveness. The week before, the week after that, and for sure, because it's an angry star. But there is a good thing here, because this angry star Pollux is with the sun, which is with the North Node, which, remember, it's the North Node is the direction we're supposed to go to in the sign of Cancer. So it's this anger that's appearing. It's almost like I would call it a divine anger within us, divine discontent. And we might explode externally, but it's almost like sometimes to push yourself into this new direction that the North Node and the Sun in Cancer are asking for you, you need to get angry. And in this case, you can emotionally explode even, but this anger will drive you towards faster release of the old. Say, for example, you've always wanted to quit a habit and go towards healthier health habits, and you finally get, I've wanted this so long, I'm so angry that now I'm gonna actually do it, I'm so angry that I haven't done it. I've tried for years and I haven't, or whatever it is. So we're gonna go through the houses now. Let's start with the Pisces, because Mercury is retrograde. Let's turn things around a little bit. So Pisces, where is the eclipse happening for you? So if you're Pisces, rising, sun or moon, particularly rising, I always look at the rising sign first, then the moon, and then the sun sign. The eclipse is happening in your 11th house and with an opposition to your 5th house. How do we interpret it, Pisces? Well, you might have to let go of something that gives you material security that is connected to income, the 11th house. Especially if you have some fears that you want to be materially stable, because the 11th house is income gains. But you might have to release certain gains now, because it's time to move to some new creative ideas. And the 11th house is gains, but it's also any activities that are commercially profitable, any goals that you have, any social, economic goals. So certain goal or dream of you, if you're a Pisces, you might have to release it this July, basically, and put a cross on it and say, okay, maybe because those goals and dreams that you've had, they actually were limiting you and they were restricting you, and they're based on fear, and they're based on past fears that you built in past lifetimes or earlier life, and you're holding on to them. But this Rahu in the sun in the 5th house is telling you there is new creative ideas that are coming for you, that actually can make space for extra different kind of income and growth for you, but you need to allow yourself to take risks. The fifth house is the house of taking risks, and to experiment with new things, with new ideas, to brainstorm new ideas. On another level, the 11th house is friends. Some of you Pisces might be releasing friends or social circle that a long time overdue. Maybe you kept a friendship, or you are a member of a group or a circle out of fear for material security, out of fear and out of habit, Capricorn, or out of feel like, who am I without those friends? But actually, now it can be the time that quite a few Pisces will feel, I can move on, I release, or it might be releasing of pain caused to you by friends, pain caused to you by your social circle, some insecurities connected to public speaking or to being in the public eye, which is the 11th house, that they might be escalating first, but the ultimate goal of them is to be released. So you can take a center stage role more, rather than being part of the group, part of the herd, and being influenced by what they say and self-defining yourself through them. This lunar eclipse is asking you to release your identification with certain groups or friends or organizations, and to become your own, the actor, on your own stage. The fifth house is to take the center stage, to shine, to actually, if till now you were like part of the team, whatever, now actually this eclipse might ask you, Pisces, to go out, be more creative, and actually say, if you think differently than the group or your friends or your colleagues, the 11th house, to stand out and say, no, I think differently, to go and take risks by allowing yourself to shine, to take center stage role, to take more creative role, more unique, unusual role, which is the fifth house with the sun, with the north node there. They can be push and pull between those two areas as well. Or also you might have to let go of certain friendships or social activities that you do because you have to dedicate more to children, or because you have to dedicate more to a girlfriend, or to your romantic life, because you have to try and develop new areas and strategies. Rahu is something new. With loved ones, fifth house, especially children and lovers, maybe you have to let go a bit of your social life so you can focus more on your romantic life as well. But you're kind of shaking off things that are blocking you, which are part of the herd mentality, part of what society expects for you, and you're going to do your own things to discover your own strength, who you are. The fifth house is the house of Leo, where the sun with the Rahu is. Who you are, how you're unique, how you stand out, how you build your own kingdom, rather than always think like, I'm part of the system, part of a cog, I'm nothing without the others. You have to release those fears now. All right. Also, on a positive side, there might be a completion of some commercial project, 11th house, some business projects, completion of some public project, completion of some public responsibility, completion and ending and seeing the results of some dream of yours or some goal that you worked on. So it can also give good results. All right, then if you are Aquarius, rising, sun or moon, Aquarius, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So that's me. So, and the opposite side is the 6th house. Something new wants to be born in the 6th house. And now is a pivotal time for you. Since Rahu went into Cancer, it's a year ago, but it continues there. Now it gets emphasized in your 6th house by this eclipse. Something new, the solar eclipse also triggered you. Maybe new health habits, the 6th house. Maybe to eat differently, to work out. 6th house is how you take care of your body. Something is trying to get born, to get better, newer, different ways of taking care of your body, of your routines as well. What time you wake up, how generally what your nutrition is, what is your working habits as well. So something, or maybe 6th house is also your work environment. Maybe you want to develop new techniques. Maybe you want to develop a new way that is more efficient, that is most emotionally satisfying. It's in Cancer. That's more aligned to your needs in regards to the responsibilities that you have, the 6th house. In work, maybe you want more emotionally satisfying job or work routines of some sort, or work responsibilities. But in order for you to do that, this And something is being born there. Maybe you want new employees that are being born. The solar eclipse in the sixth house triggered, the needs to maybe hire helpers or employees, or to make changes and rearrange the whole structure of business or work or how it's done, in a more progressive way, in a more expansive way. And that's emotionally more satisfying for you. But in order for you to do that, you have to release some fears that this lunar eclipse is asking you to release. And these are fears of, and especially 12th house where it's happening, these are subconscious fears. And these are subconscious fears connected to past lifetimes in particular. There's a very powerful karmic release for Aquarius, because it's happening in the 12th house, which is the past karma, which is also its addictions, the 12th house, things that we are self-sabotaging ourselves through, that we're escaping reality through. Anything that you use to escape reality, the moment it becomes unhealthy, and the universe is telling us now, if you're an Aquarius, everyone has some healthy addictions. They might be emotional, psychological, material. They might be based from past lifetimes or current. Those addictions are being released now. Those addictions are there. Pluto is destroying them, and Pluto is escalating fears at the same time. Subconscious paranoias increase a lot currently for Aquarius, because the 12th house is naturally also the house of paranoias and buried memories from past lifetimes. And all these planets here, Pluto, Saturn, the South Node, are escalating, but they want to excrete those fears and paranoia. So if any phobias of yours excrete, if there is an uneasy emotional feeling subconsciously and you can't put your finger on it, don't worry, it's a process of psychological healing. Actually, the 12th house is moksha, house of liberation and release. And we're having Saturn there, which is the planet of prison. So some self-created prison that you've done. The South Node and Pluto want to, and this full moon eclipse there, they want to release it. Because Pluto, remember, is the common, South Node is the tail of the dragon. They release. So self-created prisons and fears are being released currently, but they first escalate the healing crisis that I talked about. And it leads you towards a healthier life habits, sixth house, Sun in the sixth house with Rahu, healthier work routines, healthier and a healthier balance between work and rest, and maybe the Rahu there in the sixth house will increase your enthusiasm for work again, while Ketu in the 12th with South Node will release, the desire to escape, to run away from responsibilities. But you're releasing a lot of fears, and there might be certain more expenses as well. This full moon eclipse is in the 12th house, which is about expenses. And it's about conclusions. 12th house is endings. Full moons is endings, full moon eclipse is endings, self-notice, completions and endings. So you're leaving something behind powerful. And it's very much fear-based what you're leaving, and Pluto that the eclipse is happening with is the ruler of your 10th house, Aquarius. So it might be something connected to your social status and career as well that you're leaving behind. And you're completing or seeing the results of an ending and trying to open a different chapter there. If you are Capricorn, rising, sun or moon, the eclipse, of course, is happening in your sign, especially if you have anything around the 24th degree, life-changing experience, And 24th degree, I would say 2-3 degrees before and after, but all Capricorns will feel that. All Capricorns can feel this sense like something is dying, the Pluto energy, something of the past. It's like almost like they can feel like they're dying because it's in their first house, it's in their sign. So they might think, oh my God, am I dying? Or it's like a gloom feeling, like something is about to be decomposed fully and excreted from your life. Don't hold on to it. And Capricorns are often security motivated, they're fear motivated, they always try to do what is the right thing, what they should do, what is expected from them, because Capricorn is a sign of you should. Well, but currently they have to go in the direction of you want. Cancer is I need this. Capricorn is I should do this. So anything that you've identified, and which is responsibility for you, it's Capricorn after all. but it's fear-based, and it's doing it out of material security, or out of I should do this, or I've done it over and over all my life, you can release it now. Not anything, but maybe some part of it. You can release it and go into the direction of, I need this, Cancer. And it's in the seventh house, the sun, where the solar eclipse was, that wants to give birth to something new. So you might have to, almost like you're excreting part of your ego with the Saturn Pluto South Node lunar eclipse. A part of you is definitely dying. Some of you, even as Capricorns, might, even like as a symbolic thing, there might be a sacrifice of some body part. I don't want to scare you, not like that, but maybe some of you might lose weight, for example. Some of you might do liposuction, but it's because something old is dying in you. You can see that there is change and transformation even in your physical appearance, or some of you might sacrifice a nail or whatever, some body part that happens. But something, you might feel like a purging, like a detoxing process with escalation of very intense feelings, but allow it, breathe through that. Don't be fearful. Don't try to hold on to the past, which is fear-based, things that you're holding on to, old structures, old ways of living, old goals in your life. In your first house rules everything. It rules your body, it rules your goals for the future, it rules your path in life. So something in your path in life is shifting in a big way, but maybe a person is helping you. Maybe a new person appears in your life, has appeared, or is appearing, because the sun with Rahu, where the path of development is in the seventh house. So you've met someone new. It might not be a romantic relationship. It might be maybe your life partner is changing, your husband, your wife, and they're pulling you in a new direction. Or maybe you've met someone new, or some new interesting people in your life. It's others, the seventh house, that are starting to show you what you really need, Cancer, what your emotional needs are. So you need to release something that you're holding on, that is limiting you as a self definition of yourself and your path in life, and how you're doing things in your life, and go in the direction of what someone else is showing you. And sometimes it means that you have to make a sacrifice because of a partner, because of the needs of a partner. You have to sacrifice a part of your structures and what makes you feel secure, which is Capricorn, what makes you feel safe, so you can allow this wave of new beginnings to come through another person, basically. So some compromise with yourself, so something new and progressive and good can come from another. But also on another level, it might mean, because it's a full moon in your sign, completion of something, some big ending, seeing the results of something, and it might be positive results, So as well, it doesn't have to be all those scary things. So yeah, you Capricorns feel it the most. For you, I want you to listen to the full introduction, Capricorns, because everything that I speak about there is very relevant. And by the way, someone might piss you off this couple of weeks, because the sun, where the full moon eclipse, the opposite side is on the star Pollux, which I talked about, is about something that creates anger. So the star Pollux is someone very rash, or someone more fiery, can trigger you into releasing that and making this big shift in your life, and releasing a lot of karmic responsibilities and duties, because Capricorn rules all of those things, and fears as well, through a healing crisis. So actually, if someone pisses you off, it might be a good thing to push you into progress, and to leaving the past behind. For you, the key word is leaving the past behind. And of course, what helps you is Neptune, forgiveness. Please do that exercise that I gave. It's the most important for you, Capricorn. All right, if you're Sagittarius, this full moon eclipse is happening in their second house, Sagittarius rising, sun or moon. This is fantastic. Why is it? Don't worry, there are always two sides of the coin. You might lose something material because all those planets of karma, of releasing, of ending, is in the second house of assets, of things we consider valuable. You might be asked to give up something you consider valuable. Is it an object? Is it clothes? Is it whatever it is, But why is that? Because something new is being opened for you with the previous solar eclipse that happened in your 8th house. Something will come to you from a partner. Something will come to you from a offer from another person, for example, or maybe even um, when there were eclipses. I can give you an example. In my 2nd house with the South Node a few years ago, and solar eclipses in my North Node with Rahu, just like you're having now, I had to give up all my earthly possessions that I've gathered for 16 years. And it was exactly the month of the eclipse that it all happened, because I had to move to live to a different continent, and I separated. But I gained so much more new things, because the Rahu with the sun is in your 8th house. So you receive support from another, or you receive new clients, or you receive 8th houses, other people's resources. So new resources are coming to you, but you really have to make space from your old resources. So maybe even do some decluttering on the new moon. Throw out clothes that are no longer necessary for you, give them away. Release yourself from responsibilities, material and financial, which are putting too much pressure on you. And you might have fears, of course, the eclipses with Saturn, with Pluto, fears that you might have financial difficulties, and Capricorn, where it's happening, is what we are holding on to, that we think it's our safety net, something that we do repeatedly because we think it gives us, some social status or material security of some sort. So some resources, material, all tastes as well. The 2nd house is not only money, it's your values and your taste. You might be feeling like your tastes are changing, like you're releasing tastes even for fashion, for food. You're releasing old ways of how you eat. The 2nd house, what we put in our body. You might be feeling like there's the need to sacrifice maybe dairy, or the need to sacrifice because the South Node eclipse wants a sacrifice, to release certain food groups, to release certain style of clothing, to release certain aesthetic preferences. Maybe if you're an artist, the 2nd house is your values, what you consider beautiful. They're shifting, you're releasing out, and maybe you're starting to find other things beautiful. And the new values that are coming to you from a contact with another person, from the 8th house. There is like a gate opening for you from oh my god, don't my husband's scared crap out of me. He's so quiet. Cancerian talking about don't be afraid to release what keeps you safe financially and materially, and go towards Cancer, your 8th house, opportunity that comes to you from other sources of income, other clients as well, even to ask for help from another, rather than trying to make everything on your own, trying to make meets end together on your own. On another level, I've seen a few Sagittarius rising people that are shifting their whole perspective on money. The 2nd house, of course, money, because they're starting to realize that money is energy, and they're starting to release outdated beliefs, Capricorn, like something that's limiting us. And there is a total rebirth, Pluto, and release of the old ways of how they thought about money. Instead of as a material way, they start thinking about it as energy, as exchanges, and ways. And it's gonna be fantastic if you take any seminars or classes on abundance or resources currently, because those eclipses, we're doing the wealth marathon with Natalia, but we closed it already. We have too many people for 30 days, but maybe there's the abundance webinar that she did, how to reprogram your mind in regards to money, because you're releasing all such habits and beliefs, Sagittarius, and ways of attracting money. So there might be some financial crisis, sacrifice that's happening, and sometimes even people say, the moment I start doing the abundance exercises for rewiring for money, so many material problems appear. What is happening? Because before, first, the old karma has to be released. So suddenly you have to release all these unnecessary resources or possessions that are no longer necessary to make space for the new. So often when you start healing on certain areas, as we said, this is very healing, very releasing, and it's in your 2nd house. Before you get to the abundance, that, and you need to go through a crisis there. You've heard of a healing crisis. Even with resources, it can happen with money. Something important is happening there, and be open to opportunities like loans or help from another, or new clients instead. And second house, the house of self-sufficiency. Do you always rely on yourself? You don't trust others to help you to do something for you. You don't ask for support. Or are you always like, as long as I can pay my bills, or as long as I'm self-sufficient and I have the resources to do what I need, I don't need another person. But now this is dying with this lunar eclipse. Now it's not functional. So maybe some crisis can come, or situation which shows you that you can't always be self-reliant, that you have to open yourself to the help and energy of others. The eighth house, the exchange to others. Eighth house is also the house of sex, how we exchange energy with other people's resources, and trust. The most deep meaning of the eighth house is to trust another, to put your life in the hands of, maybe not your life, but to rely sometimes that you don't have to do everything alone. And the eighth house is what the universe gives you without you having to always figure out on your own, which is the second house, So don't be afraid to lose things, to give up things. Open yourself. There is other sources of much bigger sources of material stability and psychological and emotional strength that's coming to you, that is open, but it's not, you don't find it within yourself, you find it out. All right, so some support from others can come as well. All right, so, but you might be completing also some material project here, ending, seeing the results of some financial or material or artistic endeavor that you're doing, something tangible. All right, if you're Scorpio, this lunar eclipse of karmic release is happening in your third house. Some of you Scorpios might have to give up and release, because it's outdated. You don't need those people anymore. It's relationship with siblings or workers or co-workers, teammates, schoolmates of some sort. But there's some toxic energy around there that needs to be released. Maybe you don't have to fully release the whole relationship and scratch this person from your life and never talk to your brother or a relative or a cousin or a friend, because third house is a social house. It's the people in our everyday life or a colleague. But maybe you need to release a certain aspect of that relationship or certain expectations that you have towards this person, and accept them in a way that is, and maybe some crisis first happens between you and such people around you. But it's supposed to move you away from pain and trauma. So say you have colleagues that are abusive, or that claim or take power over you, or that in some way that have been, and you've been holding on to them, or some friends, for example, third house as well, relationship with a sibling or brother or relative, that you're holding on to because out of fear to let go, what will happen, or certain aspect, you insist on that you have certain expectations of them and they hurt you every time. Say that, for example. But this lunar eclipse gives you a unique opportunity to release, if not the whole relationship, if they're very resistant, or if you can't find the forgiveness to release, and if they're very toxic, of course, this will cut away people from your life. You would just move and you detach from them, because it's excretion, and it's also, if you have responsibility towards such people, whether it's like to associates, business associates, whether it's towards third house rules that to business associates, to brothers, siblings, relatives, to friends, co-workers, teammates. If you have some heavy responsibility towards them, you might release such heavy responsibility and no longer do it, and be released from such, maybe because the person disappears from your life, or maybe you distance yourself. But on that level, it might be just some expectations and certain aspect of your relationship with such people that we sacrifice to release. Don't be afraid. This is for good. Might feel like a part of you is dying or whatever, but it is for good. And what is third house? Is also skills. So certain skills, they might be, that you're letting go of. But it's third house is your everyday environment. For you, I think, Scorpios, that there'll be a shift in your everyday environment, release of certain groups and friends, and maybe like your whole social environment can change, and your everyday environment can change. And it seems like you're going exploring somewhere. It seems like there'll be opportunities either to start learning something new. Ninth house is new knowledge, that the sun with Rahu wants to go towards, and the solar eclipse that happen in Cancer wants you to move towards. So you want you to distance yourself from your everyday environment, the people that you normally chat to, the people that you go on the internet and talk with, the people that you go have coffee with, people that you normally hang out with. You have to make a sacrifice, distance yourself from some of them, go towards very new people, the ninth house, that will fulfill your emotional need much more. Maybe you might have feel stuck with certain social environment and people around you, that because Saturn is the Capricorn, you've been doing it because you had to, or because of fears, or because of sense of duty and responsibility, but you feel stagnant there. It's like it's time to change it. You feel stagnant in your everyday environment. You feel like, and where you're going towards, ninth house. Some of you might have an opportunity to start traveling in the coming months, to go abroad, to meet people that are very different than them. The ninth house, where the sun, the solar eclipse with Rahu happened, that you have to go in that direction, is the house of exploring, of foreigners, different culture, of crash courses, taking seminars, webinars, to expand your mind and consciousness rather than be stuck in the same rut of daily activity, going there to have your cigarette and your coffee, then you go there to do this thing with those friends, then you chat to whatever your daily routines are as well as the third house. You're releasing them, you're going into something more exciting. Some of you might study, some of you might travel, expand their consciousness. If you want to study and become an astrology apprentice, of course, we're having one-on-one tutoring starting here, and you have a chance to work after that with AstroLada after you take the exam. If me and Victor consider that your level is at the level we desire. So if you're thinking about that. So explore new horizons as well. Though the third house, this eclipse can create some issues with technology, with communication devices. Be careful about that. Losing a phone, and it might be symbolical. If you lose a phone or something, it's symbolical. The universe telling you, or emails or something, giving you a sign that you have to disconnect yourself from certain people and from certain communications in your life. All right. So on a positive level, Scorpio, it might be the completion of some commercial project, third house, that you're wrapping up and the responsibilities for it are ending. And you're seeing the results of that, or some business project, or some, if you're working in a small group, teamwork with someone is the third house. Something is completing, ending, you're seeing the results of it. But it's, as I said, because it's with Pluto, there's some crisis involved there as well. All right. If you're Libra, the full moon Capricorn is of karmic release is happening for you, Libra, in your fourth house. Here it is, your Libra here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is asked for you? You're asked to sacrifice or release a place of living, a home, maybe certain expectations that you have from your family members that have been your extended family, might be the family of your spouse or your own family. There might be some crisis, though, that's happening there. Crisis surrounding your family, crisis surrounding your loved family one that are close to you. Some power struggle, because Pluto is part of this lunar eclipse, that escalates decisions for you, that trigger certain buttons for you. So escalates to push you into the opposite direction, which is Cancer, which is in your 10th house, where Rahu and the Sun is, and where the new moon in Cancer was, where the solar eclipse in Cancer is. So almost like your family might be a trigger for you, and some emotional deep experiences to push you into career development or into searching for new achievements in the outer world, for taking on new worldly responsibilities, for taking on a new public image as well, to developing new career resources, new career opportunities that will be more emotionally satisfying for you, because it's in Cancer. And your Libras, if you're a Libra rising person, to a lesser degree Sun or Moon, is one of the signs that for you it's very important to have emotional connection to your career, because your 10th house of career and vocation and public image is Cancer. To feel emotionally happy there, you have very strong emotional need for public recognition. That's why Libra is known to care so much about the opinion of others, because their public image is in Cancer, the 10th house. So Cancer is the most sensitive sign. So they're so sensitive towards, what people think of them, about their career, about their public image, about their reputation. And you have strong emotional needs there. And this these two eclipses. One is telling you to make some sacrifices in your family, which are pulling you away from developing in regards to your career, which are maybe making you resist moving towards, going out into the world, becoming visible, becoming recognized. So following your vision for your career, following your vision for your mission in life. But you have to go in that direction because you have emotional needs there that have to be fulfilled. And opportunities are coming. Very new opportunities, very different because of the solar eclipse in your 10th house that happened early a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago. But before that, there is a sacrifice that needs to be made through this solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, sorry. Something has come to fruition, something is completed, maybe some responsibility to family members that you can give up now. Maybe it was a hard responsibility that made you feel like tied up. I can give you an example. My husband is Libra, and he had such heavy responsibilities with family and children that he could not work for a few years. And now we're already noticing that this responsibility is starting to, Saturn is still in the fourth for Libras, but responsibility is starting to, because the South node is there, Pluto, it's breaking down, it's releasing heavy responsibility. So you Libras can focus more on your public image, on achievement, on recognition, that opportunities that come there, on changing your public image as well in a powerful way. But some sacrifices, families is needed, or maybe there is an ending, completion of many responsibilities or duties you might have to an elderly parent, family of some sort, with a property, with home or land as well. Also, you might have to release a place of living, like we relocated, and we're constantly relocating. So there is some kind of, but if you're having fears connected, and also the fourth house for your Libras is fears, and because not fears, it's family and memories from early childhood. So there might be re-trigger of some issues, maybe if you had divorced parents or you were moving a lot or something, some issues from early childhood in the stage of, or especially relationship with mom or family things that you've forgotten are coming to the surface now in a similar way to be relieved. So this time you can overcome this crisis in a more conscious way as an adult, because when you experience them, you are a child. You just internalized everything and it became like an emotional complex for you. So now the emotional trauma from childhood or pain from family matters, which is Pluto is the pain, Saturn is the resentments or fears that made almost like if something is incapacity, making you incapable and bringing a lot of fear, something from your childhood, from your family, that created trauma, that made an unhappy emotional self, made a fearful emotional self, because it's your fourth house, your emotional self, gave you a weak foundation in life of emotional security, because the fourth house is how emotionally secure you are. If there were some traumas that made you say, for example, your mom left you for 2-3 hours while you were crying or whatever, or dad abandoned you, something happened in your family, that gave you a weaker emotional foundation and emotional security. These things might be relived in some way, or might be remembered, or similar situation can trigger such certain fears and memories from the past that are getting released though. It's a healing crisis. Don't be afraid. Even in some aspects, you might have to discontinue connection with certain family members, or you can relocate to a different country. It can make a decision for you that you're done with certain area, a place of living, and move away, or with certain family members. So it can be just a very internal process of releasing trauma that you've experienced emotionally in childhood that is stagnating you emotionally. And stunting you emotionally to connect on a deep level with others. It's it's a moksha experience, liberating experience, but it's very internal and psychological. It might not be accompanied with outer experiences. All right, and you're being pulled towards the outer world rather than when you release this emotional intention, when you release some family responsibilities and duties as well, a new opportunity is opening in regards to your career. If you're Virgo, this full moon eclipse is happening in your 5th house. Very karmic release of pain from romantic pain. Have you been hurt by romantic partners? Have you been betrayed? You were in love with someone, they were not. Maybe they abused their power over you because you were in love. Maybe they played with your heart, you know. Well, now this eclipse wants, we can activate those traumas. Maybe they happen in a past lifetime as well. We have Pluto, we have the South Node, very karmic. Your ability to feel, your ability to deserve to be loved. You know, the fifth house is you feel, I deserve to be loved and adored. Well, if everyone, and for you Virgo in particular, it's high time, especially if you're Virgo rising, you know, the sun and moon as well to a lesser degree. It's high time that you release a lot of pain, because naturally Virgo have pain when it comes to being center of attention, which is the fifth house, being very public and being adored. You know, Virgo, we know how humble they are. They have Capricorn in the fifth house. Capricorn is like you feel inadequate, not good enough, or you have insecurities. So they naturally have insecurities about giving and receiving love publicly, about being expressive with their affections, which is very Leonine quality, the fifth house, about flirting and romantic relationships. They're more timid naturally. Maybe they put on a face sometimes, but often Virgo, there is some karmic holdback there because Capricorn rules their fifth house. And the ability to shine, to put themselves in the spotlight is often kind of compromised because of Capricorn. And Saturn is currently in Capricorn, has been for a year and 2 years almost, you know, a year and a half or something. And those pains are awakening, those pains are intensifying. I know quite a few Virgos who actually, their fears of romantic connections, that especially the younger Virgos before 35, 36, they've been having some romantic issues and romantic breakdowns and questioning themselves. But actually now this full moon wants to excrete those feelings of unworthiness, those fears. And some of you, it means, Virgo, that you might leave romantic partners behind. But these people are toxic. Pluto is there. Pluto is something that is, you know, toxicity. And Pluto is also, it indicates that you want a total release, total breakdown, and leaving behind those romantic patterns or way of doing romantic relationships. There is an alchemical transformation happening deep within your heart, which you no longer tolerate a certain type of romantic relationships or partners, or if you're married already, there is some crisis that might happen in regards to your romantic life because it needs to be released. Some fears about your romantic life needs to be released, you know, and some pains, even kind of karmic deep pains and hurts are getting released and might be re-experienced, so you can see them from a different perspective, but they're coming to an end. So for some of you, might be romantic relationship coming to an end that you have to let go of. For another people, it might be a creative project that is completing, because fifth house is our children, what we create. A creative project that you're completing, so you no longer have responsibilities towards, you know, and you can see the result of this creative project, for example. Some of you might have to sacrifice a creative project because you, for example, or some kind of, you know, idea. The fifth house is our ideas. The fifth house is our inspirations. Some inspiration that you held dear, or idea or creative project. On a positive level, it can finish and complete. On a negative level, it can mean like, and it's not even negative, it means like it's no longer valid in your life. This creative outlook, this fifth house is how we entertain ourselves, how we have fun. For example, I know a couple of Virgos that stopped drinking. Fifth house is to have fun, to go out. And currently around, actually even a month before the lunar eclipse, and it starts acting almost a month before, these two Virgos stopped drinking because they said they sacrificed that because their love life was suffering because of drinking. So you see how the fifth house, dating, romance, drinking are very connected, having fun, you know, and it's romance, dating, and they sacrificed that, and things are starting to improve a lot. They focused on their friends. This is what a lot of you have to do right now, Virgos. Focus where Rahu and the sun is, which is basically where the solar eclipse was 10 days ago. So this year you have to focus more on creating new friendships, going out of your, leaving behind a little bit maybe romantic experiences, you know, or leaving the unhealthy part of romantic experiences behind, sacrificing it for something, maybe sacrificing it for some economic goal, for some social economic goal, for some, because the 11th house is gains, because you have to, maybe your love life needs to be sacrificed a little bit. You can't be so romantic with your partner and pay them attention because you need to focus on making money, the 11th house, on gains, or on developing some goal of yours, some social economic goals, as the 11th house is known. Creating new friendships, new contacts, business, focusing on business. The 11th house rules all of those things. But you have to sacrifice your fun for a little bit. You have to sacrifice the unhealthy way of having fun. You have to sacrifice the unhealthy way of how you flirt, how you date, romantic experiences. And on another level, some of you might be 5th house is children. Maybe one of your child is leaving to study and you have to let go of them. Maybe you have to sacrifice a certain aspect of your relationship with your children. Maybe you have certain expectations of your child and you're quite uptight about what you expect of your child, because after all, Capricorn is there in your 5th house, you know. Capricorn is a bit uptight and has high expectations. And that's creating pain, and that was, or maybe your child hurt you in some way, you know, or a loved one. Now you have to ask for forgiveness and let it go. Or now you have to ask for, maybe you have to, this full moon eclipse can say, okay, I cannot have such expectations from my child or from my lover anymore. You know, I will shift how I do those things. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your relationship with your child. I never advise that, but there might be the need for some distance, or to give some space and distance to your child. Or maybe your child might be going through some crisis. This full moon indicates with Pluto and Saturn, but something is ending in their life. They are releasing a lot of old karma and a lot of old patterns as well. So be understanding towards them. If a crisis happens in your relationship, know that they're going through a lot. They're going through like a peeling of their old skin in some sort. And rely on friends, like-minded people. Go out. 11th house is also go connect with groups on internet or whatever. Go to some large events. You know, this is where things, new opportunities will come to you from. All right, now let's go to Leo. If you're Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this full moon in Capricorn, that is very karmic and requires karmic release, is happening in your 6th house. Leo, you're required to actually give up some of your responsibilities and duties. Have you been taking too much on? And you're resentful about that. Maybe you've made yourself into a servant with something. Maybe you've made yourself like 6th house, the house to serve, to work hard like a donkey, you know. Maybe you've taken on too much work, and maybe you're so unhappy in your work, or too many, or maybe your routines and order around you, you know, maybe you're having so much that you need to change somehow your working routine, and you also need to start taking time off. The solar eclipse in Cancer was in your 12th house. And it's with Rahu. It's what we have to do, new beginnings, what we have to develop. 12th house is how to give yourself a break, Leos. How to give yourself, how to make yourself relax, how to connect, how to feed your soul, rather than just trying to fix all material problems, fix everyone else's problems. So now you might be required to release your obsession to control things, to take care of things, to make sure that everything is going, you know, like planned well and organized, maybe to release some responsibilities so you can take a break. Some of you might actually quit a job, you know, that is unsatisfying, because now which is the solar eclipse, is always the more potent by the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is what has to be released, you know, and you're releasing some responsibility, maybe some old habit, health habit that's unhealthy as well, some old, workout routine, or some old health habits, or some old, you might actually be released from a chronic disease. There is a positive side here, because something karmic, Saturn, and chronic and very deeply buried because of trauma in you is, if it's causing, it's showing me here that Leos currently, especially Leo rising people, if they're having some imbalance, health imbalance in their life or mental imbalance, it's due to a karmic buildup because of the Pluto position, Saturn, the South Node. Karmic buildup of unresolved feelings or of a trauma that happened. And those can come and escalate to the surface emotionally, so they can be released, and that can have a tremendous release of a health issue for you, karmic release of a health issue. So be open for that, but at the same time, you have to give yourself some time to rest, wrap in the 12th house, go away to a foreign country, start meditating, start some spiritual practices. Don't try to fix your health problem always by how you're going to eat, how you're going to if you're having some imbalance. It's the imbalance is getting solved by the Sun and Rahu in Cancer, by basically giving yourself a break, forgiving yourself, 12 houses forgiveness, about going within, maybe explore past life regression or something, explore traveling to foreign countries, faraway countries, or giving yourself time to meditate, to be in your inner sanctum, for some spiritual work in nature, something like that, to detach, to connect to nature is the 12th house, rather than just try to work. So on a positive level, it might mean that some work responsibilities or some responsibility and duty you have as a service to someone else is ending, it's showing you results, you're completing it. But also the 6th house is enemies, or people that are taking us out of balance, people that have animosity towards us and we have towards them. Well, there is like a karmic buildup. Those people the tension with them can escalate now, but at the same time, it's about releasing it. Also, huge focus on your health, as I said, and healthy habits, and how to release unhealthy habits, because it's about releasing unhealthy habits and how to take care more of your soul and nurture your soul. Because you have an emotional need, Cancer, to run away, to escape a little bit, to look within. Some of you might have to release an employee. The 6th house is people that work for us. So you might need to try and release control of an employee or expectations, certain expectations from those that work for you, that you employ or whatever, because you realize you can't control those, and out of fears you may be keeping them or whatever. And you might be finally able to release a commitment to an employee or something like that. All right. Now, those of you who are Cancer, Cancers, you feel very strong. It's especially if you have something in Cancer around the 24th degree, Sun or Ascendant. It's so powerful. It can be life-changing lunar eclipse. But for you, Cancers, what is required? What is the impact? Well, there may be some crisis in relationship can happen for you this lunar eclipse. Maybe some old karmic relationships can reappear, or similar situations of relationship that caused trauma for you, that was very deep, maybe even in past lifetimes or this lifetimes, that kind of escalates now, so it can be released. Those painful feelings and resentments, Pluto, Saturn, those traumas that you're keeping, that were done to you through another person, that were done to you through certain expectations that have about the person. Maybe usually it's partner, business partner or marriage partner, someone that you're in a committed relationship with, someone close to you. Well, you need to release such a person now. Some of you will be ending relationships that are toxic. Pluto is there. Pluto will be excreted. Some of you will be ending expectations about certain relationships and just trying to accept them in a more, according to the level of the person that they are, whether it's a marriage partner, whether it's a business partner. If you're Cancer, you might be required to, not saying lower your standards in relationships, it's not at all that, but to make it, there is like a healing, it's a healing process. This karmic release is like you're releasing either stored up resentments towards another person or towards a business client, but it can be accompanied, if you've already released that person, they're no longer in your life, you can feel like that your anger towards this person escalates, or negative feelings, but then it's like bubbles up and it's released, and you no longer feel attached to that person, like a cutting of karmic cords with another. And if they're no longer in your life, even better, if they still are, actually Many of it might be followed by actual separation with another person who is toxic, who is unhealthy, who is triggering old patterns of behavior in you. It's not easy with relationships currently with you, you know. It's not easy, but those planets, this lunar eclipse wants to liberate you from an unhealthy relationship situation, or from an unhealthy contract or promise with another person, or from an unhealthy aspect of a relationship. And again, as I said, old issues can come to the surface, but they are in order to be released. So some of you might be ending a contract and giving up responsibility, because Ketu and the South Node, you know, the South Node Ketu releases Saturn's responsibility in the sign of Capricorn, responsibility. So maybe you're completing a project with a partner, so you no longer will, so you can see the results of it, and you can see, you know, there is a culmination of a partnership, business partnership or something, you're completing it, and you no longer have responsibility after that in that contract or in that agreement with someone, but you see very good results. It doesn't have to be negative results, you know, depending on the efforts that are put on both sides. What I've seen some other cancers going through currently, because I have many cancer friends, is that they're starting to perceive others in a different light. And they're starting, like, a very good cancer friend who is very often very judgmental towards people. And she'll start saying, like, she's doing this, she's a prostitute, she's this, she's that. And she started going introspective and realizing that she's not basically judgmental towards people, but that she can't stand people not living up to their potential. And that's why she started judging them. And she started perceiving herself from this angle, and she started being able to forgive people, because she realized that the judgment she's doing towards her partners and marriage partners, boyfriends, whatever, all her problems with that she was judging them, she was harsh on them. But she realized it's not because they're bad people or something, but because she could see that they're much better people, that they have much better potential, and they can't live to that potential. And that's why she was getting so aggravated with them. And that was a reason for a lot of clashes and separations and relationships from them. Because Capricorn, for you Cancers, is that you hold up your partner to certain high standards. Capricorn is very demanding. So you as Cancers can be ball busters in relationships, because you have this Capricorn expectations of certain, you know. And what is Capricorn? Capricorn is to live up to your highest potential, you know, through your personal hard efforts, not to choose. Cancers don't like partners that choose the easy way out, let's say that. They don't respect such people. But often can create problems in their relationships, you know, because people are like, whoa, take it easy, yeah, you know. So this couple of Cancer friends, actually, they started realizing that with the coming eclipses, with the South Node in the 7th house, with Saturn there, with Pluto, there's big transformation of karmic release of beliefs or expectations about relationships. And when they both started realizing, actually, I'm not a ball buster, I just want people to live to their high expectations, and not everyone can, you know, live to that, you know. So they started being more forgiving. So their expectations, they kind of let go of certain expectations in their relationships. It's like a death of how they do relationships, basically, these eclipses are causing in them. But because there is a big change happening in them, so the big change is happening because the eclipse 10 days ago, Cancers, was in your sign in Cancer. So you're changing in a huge way. Something new is being born in you. And that's why you're leaving some old relationships behind, or partnerships or agreements or ways of connecting to others. So, but, you know, and actually I'll advise you to rely more on yourself now, to go, instead of trying to have someone save you or hoping that someone will change, you know, maybe someone will leave from your life themselves, you know, because all the eclipse, South Node eclipse, to release, to let go, is in the 7th house. But because you need to focus on yourself now, Cancers, you need to shift yourself, to take new perspective, to change the direction of your whole life with all those eclipses, with Rahu eclipses, new beginnings, progressive new beginnings, and the focus is on you. So maybe you might have to sacrifice, if you're happily married, whatever, your relationship a little bit now, so you can focus on yourself, so you can, instead of doing what the partner wants, to see what your needs are, Cancer, what your emotional needs are, and where you want to head, and who you want to be yourself. if you're trying to, and it can be for some of you culmination of a relationship, like a relationship takes the next step, for example. But very interesting times for you Cancers. All right, and by the way, you Cancers might feel like you're getting very angry because the sun is with Pollux in your sign. That's a star of anger around the eclipse, and you've had it enough, and you want the old out of your life. You can cut off certain people, and you just go and do something, you know, something totally new. You might feel this vibe, you know, as well, very strongly, while you're letting go of unhealthy relationships or ways of connecting with people. If you're Gemini, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in your 8th house. All right, 8th house eclipse. That's very healing. Actually, this eclipse is super plutonic because it's the lunar eclipse is conjunct Pluto. As you know, the energy of Pluto, the 8th house, and Scorpio is of the same vibration. It's about crisis and healing of the crisis. And so this eclipse happening in your 8th house, it is with Pluto, crisis, in the 8th house of crisis and healing. And it's with Ketu, the other planet that has the energy of the 8th house. Ketu is, just like Pluto rules in astrology, the dragon's tail where they extrude. Pluto rules the column. So there's so much excretion going here. There's so much that you're, as Gemini, are releasing currently. Actually, all the, I think all the air signs, Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra are releasing a lot because it's happening in their emotional houses, in their subconscious houses or houses of liberation. So there is like, for you, it's more like an emotional volcano that's happening. It's more internal. It might not be so visible externally for others, but there's powerful feelings that this eclipse is stirring that already started this July, you know, and there is a lot is being released for you because this 8th house is the colon, the excretion, you know, Capricorn, Pluto and the South Node is also. You're releasing trauma, guys. You're releasing pain. You're releasing fears. 8th house is the house of paranoia, of fears, of obsessions. You're releasing your inability to trust others. 8th house is to trust others, to open yourself in such a way as to become vulnerable to another and to rely fully on another. So if you have some sexual blockages, what is it? Sexual blockages is like when you don't feel comfortable enough to relax with another to become orgasmic. That's why the 8th house rules trust and deep sexual connection, the ability not just to have a one-night stand, but the ability to have like a deep transformative sex. Have you heard of healing sex, of tantra? It doesn't have to be tantra, but the sex where you don't feel violated, it's just for a quick sex where you're so deep, the energy starts rotating around you and healing you. So when we're not orgasmic with our partner, when we're not able to have this deep sexual experiences, there is a blockage usually to our 8th house. What is the 8th house? The ability to trust another person, the ability to open up and merge with another and remove all barriers with another person. So if there was some violation of your trust in past lifetimes, for everyone there's been, but currently you, Gemini, are working on that violation of your trust. So some kind of crisis situation and feelings can appear where you're not feeling trust towards another person or towards, you know, where your trust is being challenged, you know. And because everyone has had in previous lifetimes or this lifetimes their trust broken down, but now the lunar eclipse is working on you specifically to heal you from some broken trust. And 8th house rules things like violation, like rape, like abuse. Some of you, if any of you have gone through that mental, psychological, emotional abuse, physical abuse, these things can reawaken now. They can feel so powerful that you can become so emotional about them. You can feel like the feelings of similar situation might even get created, or you can read about something, but this is reawakened on you because you couldn't cope the first time when the abuse happened, when someone took your power or betrayed your trust, as we're talking about. You couldn't cope with those feelings, so you buried them. So this is where we bury them, in the 8th house. But they start transpiring as sexual aberrances, as sexual blockages, as inability to trust and connect with another on a deep level, as inability to have transformations and big changes in life, because you block them. 8th house and house of big changes, and when it's locked with lack of some abuse or trust or hurt, you can't have those huge transformations and turns around in life. But currently this lunar eclipse wants to clear up the karmic pile up there of pain, Pluto, of resentments, of fears, of trusting. So trust this process. It might be very internal. If you can do some counseling and advising, it's fantastic. Oh, by the way, Angelique is doing on the 3rd of August a powerful energy realignment seminar, and online it's $40. She's going to teach you how to raise your vibrations and how to open your psychic channels and to remove any psychic blockages and painful blockages, emotional blockages. So if you want to join her, you know, she'll do a lot of 8th house things like cleaning of trauma, of past, and raising the vibration suddenly. So what is happening for you? It might be some emotional crisis for you, Gemini, but it's a healing crisis that removes certain fears and blockages, first escalates them, unfortunately, and then you can feel like there was some unblocking of, it's, what is this? This is the plumber, the 8th house. And imagine there was been like the plumbing system of your soul has been blocked with hair, with gunk, and you're drowning, you know. So this is what is happening. A plumber is unplumbing you with the lunar eclipse. He's unplumbing that and taking all the hairs and all the yucky, painful stuff with breakup of trust or abuse and of some sort. It might be, you might not be, it can be very psychological process, you know, and releasing you from that within the next couple of months, you'll see the results. So you can be free for transformations, for psychological healing, for deeper intimacy, for connecting to another and receiving from another. When we have blockages in the 8th house, we're blocked. Like, for example, our husband can't make money, or our partner, we never receive any presents from partners, or we never receive any support from partners, psychological, emotional. We always have to do everything on our own, you know. But there is a release of such painful experiences. But on another level, Gemini, you might have to let go of certain toxic partners, people that are taking away your power, people that, and rely basically on yourself here. The sun with Rahu happening in your 2nd house. And it means that in this month, in the next couple of months, there will be new sources of income that come to you, or new resources that come to you that you yourself find. But you might have to give up the emotional dependency on another person. It might be resources from another person that you might have to give up. For example, someone, your husband or wife suddenly loses a job or something, so you can't rely on their income. So you have to be resourceful, and this Rahu eclipse will help you to find new sources of income yourself, to become more self-sufficient. But at the same time, you might have to release those fears and holding on, or maybe you're getting a alimony from someone and now you stop getting it, or a payment from someone, you're dependent on someone. This lunar eclipse wants to release you from dependency on another person, because you're kind of losing your power there. Dependency, whether it's on a husband or a wife or a business partner, but you're staying there because of fears. You're staying there because of, especially of material consideration. It is Capricorn, it's Pluto, it's Saturn, you know. But maybe, but this eclipse is saying, no, you're gonna find the resources yourself. You find the inner strength within yourself. You know, you're gonna find new material circumstances to support you. You don't have to be dependent, 8th houses, to be on another person. Release it. You know, especially if the other person is holding you. There is someone or something that's holding you back. And you have to let go of this thing, because you find new resources there. All right. So there might be some loss or letting go of mutual resources, or certain client and resources that comes through them, you know, but because you're creating new ones that are reliant just on you. Sun solar eclipse in the 2nd house with Rahu. All right, if you're Taurus, what is happening for you? The solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, sorry, is happening in Capricorn, which is your 9th house. Well, ninth house solar eclipse, and this lunar eclipse is about releasing, remember? To let go of something, to totally transform and release the old. Pluto, the south node. We are releasing old beliefs, Tauruses. You're releasing outdated worldviews and outlook on life. It's something is shifting in your head so much. It's kind of your whole belief system is shifting. And don't be afraid of that. You might be releasing, for example, certain the ninth houses. You have like a vision for yourself. I'm going to study this. I'm going to do this. This is my plan for the future. And you might have to release or sacrifice such a plan because you are shifting your so much. You might have to abandon certain course or university degree if you're studying in university or something. You might have to let go there. Or on another level, full moon eclipse is about completion. Some of you might be completing they might complete a certain field of study or certain field of belief system, or even complete, certain program of study or crash course is the ninth house as well. And complete it and no longer have responsibility with that. Some of you might be completing certain chapter of their life that's connected to teaching, to spreading, seeing the results of some teaching. Some of you might be disappointed with a teacher and let go of a teacher, let go of a certain belief system, let go of a certain inspirational figure because something is not aligned there anymore. You feel like this is, for example, it might be a religion or something that you feel it's limiting you. It might be a teacher or a guru or advisor or a mentor that you have that you feel it's limiting you and you can no longer basically and you may be holding on there out for fear because you've known this teacher or this teaching or this belief system for such a long time, but it's outdated. This is what the eclipses and Saturn, the South Node, is saying. And also the ninth house is to explore, to philosophize. But the solar eclipse that happened 10 days ago in Cancer is the one that you really have to develop because it's bringing new things into you, new opportunities. It's in the third house. The third house is dive and start trying, experimenting, trying. The third house is to use your hands to get them dirty, basically. So what we're saying here is this eclipse is saying instead of trying to, philosophize and foresee everything for the future, to know each step, because the ninth house is to have the whole picture. You might not have access to the whole picture now. Or if you usually do things that what the whole picture is, you've planned it out carefully before you start experimenting and trying something new. Now it's not going to work. You might not have the full picture first. You might not have all the answers first. You have to start, for you, basically, you have to go into the third house where the solar eclipses happen. And the new beginnings of Rahu. Then the third house is every journey starts with a step. You take the first step, even though you might not see the whole thing. Even though the journey might not be planned out in front of you. So the third house is to experiment, to try, to go play in the sand rather than, just study and learn. To get your hands dirty. So maybe you've studied something and this lunar eclipse says, okay, enough studying, you've learned enough. Now go and experiment, start doing things with your hands, not literally with your hands, but now get practical. Start doing it, playing around. The third house is like Gemini energy, to play around with it, to put it together, to, what do children do? Put together, how does it go? How does it fit? Well, you've gotten enough theoretical knowledge, my lovelies, if you're Taurus. Now it's time to actually get down to business. This is what it's asking. And to release attachments to having to have all the knowledge, And this solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, we're talking about both of this, is going to take you in a direction, the third house, which is again commercial, which is more commercial business. Start creating contacts, communicating, experimenting, getting your hands dirty, hands-on experience, that's training. So some of you might be new opportunities that come to train and learn some practical skill, some actual skill that you can sell with, a mind skill, some how to operate certain thing, how to do certain thing, how to use certain software, how to, you know, this is the direction for you to go rather than philosophical, theoretical side of it. And some new acquaintances, some new people will appear in your social environment as well, that are more business savvy, that are more mercurial in nature. Open yourself to them. Good things are coming from there, rather than the more philosophical people. Yeah. And again, it's actually a death of certain beliefs that you have in worldviews, and need to focus on more down-to-earth practical applications of your skills. All right, and if you're Aries, sorry Aries to leave you last, but Mercury is retrograde. So the lunar eclipse is happening in your 10th house, in our 10th house. And what is this about? And it's a lunar eclipse of karmic release. 10th house is Capricorn, is in Capricorn for Aries. So certain responsibility we're releasing, or maybe some of you might release a career. Some of you might release and have a big transformation in their career, in outdated modes of their career. They might be changing the whole face of their career because the way you're doing things currently, they're not working, or they're outdated, or you're holding on to them for fear or out of use of repetition, etc. But Pluto wants, this lunar eclipse wants to show you that, okay, it's reached its limit, and now it has to transform some career, but also it can indicate that you're completing some career project and you're seeing the results of it. Lunar eclipse is to see the results of something. It's with South Node though. Once you complete it, you let it go, you don't come back to it, you release it. There might be a relationship with a father figure or with authority figure that is completing and ending for your Aries. And maybe especially if there was something toxic between you and your father, or between you and a boss, or you and an institution, it can escalate into a crisis now. But if someone's been taking your power, especially people in position of power, that the boss's father, like that, you know, you might kind of say, okay, I'm done, enough. I cannot tolerate this. I'm releasing that. I'm releasing those expectations towards my dad, or towards my boss, or towards this institution. And it's almost like I'm letting it go, and you can be relieved from a karmic duty towards that person as well. So once you change, and because South Node is about letting go, Pluto is about transforming again as well. So if you let go of certain expectations about this person, how you want them to be or whatever, you can actually, the karma ends then. And then you can be released from this person, or from the negative aspect of that relationship, whether it's a boss, institution, father figure, you know. So something is happening there. There might be power struggles though happening with those figures, escalating as the beginning, but something is shifting in your mind where you're moving away physically or psychologically or emotionally. You're detaching from certain expectations. As well, if you have certain expectations around your career, and usually Aries hold themselves to very high standards in regards to career, because Capricorn rules the 10th sign, the sign of your highest achievements. It's Capricorn. Capricorn is a very demanding sign. So many Aries have very demanding expectations towards them when it comes to career. But this full moon eclipse is saying, okay, certain responsibilities for you are finishing, release them. You know, don't burden yourself with too much. You've been carrying too much in certain career aspects. Or it's saying that your certain expectations that you have of yourself in regards to career are ending. Don't be too hard on yourself, release it, and you'll be released from certain karmic burdens in regards to your career, in regards to your public image. Of course, if you've been if you're not in the right career and vocation, they might be letting go of a career currently, or maybe getting fired or something, you know. And maybe you are lying to yourself that you want this job, but if you lose a job currently, or some project disappears from your life, but it's usually something a bit more bigger, you know, this is because it's karmically has outlasted its positive influence on you. It's no longer safe for you. It's just blocking you, and it's stagnating you, even if you're not aware of it. And by the way, the other eclipse was Aries, which was in Cancer, which was with Rahu, and it was a new moon. What we need to focus on and develop and grow was in our 4th house. You need to maybe release certain responsibilities from your worldly life, maybe a certain aspect of your career. This is what I'm doing. I'm removing a lot of things that I'm giving up a lot of my worldly responsibilities, basically. I'm giving them up a lot. I'm gonna be still making videos, don't worry. I'm just keeping the things that work. But I'm giving up a lot of things that I used to do like crazy, and they'll take me hours and hours, and I became so dissatisfied with my work because of the heavy burden of work, Saturn, in the 10th house. And I was like, no. So now I'm releasing a lot. I'm allowing other people to do all the marketing, all the visuals, all the, all the editing of videos, all the emails, and I'm focusing on my family because the the new moon for us Aries was in the 4th house and our emotional needs. What is it that makes you happy, Aries? This is the most important question for you. Actually, you find it much easier to release certain aspects of your career or public reputation if you realize that now the universe wants from you to focus on your personal needs. For example, for Libra is the opposite. For Libra is like, okay, come out of the responsibilities for your personal life and feelings and family, go into career. For you, it's like, what do I need to make me happy? Actually, new opportunities will come to you through this new moon in the 4th house. You might start living in a new place. You might start a new chapter in your family. There might be new beginnings with parenthood, or there might be new opportunities for more growth through your family, or a lot of your passion and things will happen more easily, and important developments will be happening in your personal place, relocation, place of living, home, family, and emotional, and you starting to tend to your emotional needs, not to what the public expects from you. The 10th house, where the South Node lunar eclipse is to release expectations or worries about what people think about you and your public reputation. Stop being so uptight about it. You have a lot of fears there anyway, and karmic tension. Just do what gives you emotional fulfillment now. And with that, thank you so much. I'm going to start working on the monthly horoscopes for August. I have so much better news for you in August, guys, than the crazy, crazy July, but life transforming July. And yes, check out our apprenticeship school. Victor is leading it. We're going to do the exams together and choose the people that we really believe can become great, well-paid astrologers to work with us. And also check out Angelique's energetic alignment, or how to raise your vibration energetically fast. She'll be teaching this course on August the 3rd. It's $20 off now. It's $40 only. So I love you so much. I'm so happy to be back. And yes, because there is the full moon. There's the new moon in my 6th house. Then the 12th house is what I have to release, where the South Node moon was for me. So I have to release taking a break and focus on work again. I love you, and I will see you next week.